I had just completely lost myself. I literally threw myself into being a wife, being a mom. I was volunteering at the schools. I was doing everything for everybody.
Today's guest is Ashlee Candelaria, an El Paso-based podcaster and entrepreneur who's creating space for the conversations many people are afraid to have out loud. As the host of Talkin About It podcast, Ashlee centers mental health, self-awareness, and radical honesty, reminding us that healing is not linear and no one has to walk through it alone. Through her platform, she has built more than a podcast. She's cultivated community, a space where vulnerability is strength, transparency is leadership, and growth is ongoing. In a world that often encourages curated perfection, Ashlee chooses truth. In today's conversation, we'll talk about what it takes to build a brand rooted in authenticity, how to balance entrepreneurship with personal well-being, and what burnout looks like when you're the one holding space for others. I'm your host, Charvon Hales. This is Light, Life, and Limitations, a podcast where creativity meets reality.
When the world feels out of frame, every thought, every fear, every revelation, I find my way through the quiet flame, lighting life in all the limitations.
Welcome, Ashlee.
Thank you, Charvon. Thank you for having me on, and congratulations on your podcast. I'm proud of you. So thank you for allowing me to be a guest on.
I want to give you a shout out because me doing your podcast was kind of the catalyst to get me to do mine. Because I had wanted to do a podcast back in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic when everybody was doing a podcast. I bought the equipment, I had a whole concept, and then my life started falling apart. And then I came here and I came here to El Paso. I did the Bro Moreau show, which I believe that's how you found me. And then you reached out to me to do Talking About It, and seeing your platform and how you do everything virtually, I was like, oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about you know, doing it that way. I didn't realize there was platforms where you can, record it and it, has everything all branded and everything for it. So that was definitely a trigger that kind of pushed me toward that. So I appreciate you for that.
Awesome. That's the goal, right? That's what I want to do, is just to show people that you can do these things regardless of the space that you're in, whether it's mentally, whatever you're kind of going through. It's just taking the leap and doing it and figuring it out kind of along the way. So I love hearing that. Thank you. That really, I deal with imposter syndrome a lot. And so hearing that really makes my heart warm and makes me feel like, on the days where you question your purpose and what it is that you're doing, this is a great reminder of that. And so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because we never know who's paying attention and who we're actually reaching, which is why I'm a big advocate for giving people their flowers and telling them, like, when they've inspired me and when I've, um, gotten something out of what they create. So, tell us a little bit
That's
about
awesome.
your background here in El Paso and how you got to the point of starting a podcast.
So, I basically was a stay-at-home mom. Pre-wife and kids, I was a batshit crazy person. I was just all over the place. I was a party person. I would go out, drink, I was the best. I was so much fun. Until I wasn't, until the anger and everything that you kind of suppress would come out. So I did that. And then once I once I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I kind of decided that I was going to completely throw myself into being a mom and motherhood. My grandmother was my safe space when I was a kid, going through childhood trauma, divorced parents, all of that stuff. My grandmother was my safe space, and she had her household as, I guess now they're calling it like a trad wife or traditional housewife, but I don't think that's exactly what it was. I think that term has kind of been turned into something that's not how I see it, but very like um, my grandfather would get home from work, she would have dinner ready for him.
Mm.
Um, my dad and my uncles were always taken care of, so I always wanted to emulate that. To me, that was, like, what you had to do, because I didn't have that, right? So, that's who I looked to. So when I, found out I was pregnant with my daughter, it was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be, like, the best mom I can be. I'm gonna do everything completely different, than how I grew up." Um, and of course, that doesn't happen right away, right? I had postpartum
Mhm.
depression, this whole thing, more
Mm.
avoidance, and it took me a couple years, but yeah, once I got married, um, we had, Sydney, then we had Nola and our son. We lived in San Diego because my husband was stationed out there for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then when we came back, I had just completely lost myself. I literally threw myself into being a wife, being a mom. I was volunteering at the schools. I was doing everything for everybody.
Mm.
Um, and so around 2019 or so, fast forward a bunch of years, we were in the midst of homeschooling. I decided to pull my kids out of school. Didn't like what the school system was doing.
Mm.
Decided to pull them out, and there wasn't a lot of resources for homeschooling families at that time,
Mhm.
specifically here. So I ended up um, kind of doing my own thing and doing online public school. And so I had started thinking about doing a podcast at that time.
Mhm.
Sorry, there's a plane going over. I don't know if you can hear it because it's like shattering or shaking the windows. So apologies. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of resources for homeschooling. I wanted to start a podcast for that specifically, to be able to help people answer questions. This was right before pandemic hit, and I didn't do it. I was scared. I was like, "No, what am I gonna talk about? How are we gonna do this?" Um, in the middle of that time, I had just been an entrepreneur doing side hustles, and I waited. Pandemic hits. I had had probably a breakdown or nervous breakdown or 2 in
Mm.
that time. I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, since I was 6 years old, and I never got diagnosed until I was 37. So kind of all of that together had just kinda consumed me, but I was still avoiding and not wanting to do anything about it. It was
Mhm.
just kind of letting it ride.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, pandemic hit. I was a hermit. I was terrified to go anywhere. I ended up getting COVID, that first round.
Mhm.
None of my other family got it. I wouldn't leave my house, y'all, and I still ended up getting COVID. So for me, that was kind of like the first lesson of like, as much as I was trying to control everything and
Mm.
be that person, I had no control. I had to go to the store one time and I got COVID from there. So after that, I was just kind of in a really rough space. And finally well, I finally found a provider who listened to me. And rather than giving me prescriptions and all of these other things, she was trying to actually help me pinpoint what was going on with me.
That's important.
And
Mhm.
that's very important
Yeah.
because the way that the medical system, healthcare system is right now is just kind of like script writing. I mean, you can't turn on your TV without Sky Rizzy or one of those and now they have like cool
Mhm.
jingles and stuff
Yeah.
on the TV. So like that's how it was. And so being able to find a provider that knew that it was probably more so a lot of mental stuff going on,
Mhm.
um, got me into a therapist. And uh, through there, I was able to kind of start really doing some work. And before I really dug deep into therapy, I was like, I'm just going to start this podcast. And this
Mhm.
was it was a year ago, 2024. Um, because when I was like in the thick of it, like, deep depression episode for, like, 3 months in my bed, couldn't move, couldn't get up, none of that. I
Mhm.
did build a business. I did build our business. I was able to open a restaurant. I was able to kind of put this thing together, in between that time, and it gave me kind of that light to look forward to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, in the midst of all that, I was trying desperately to find resources and help and somebody who could speak to people the way that I needed them to speak to me. Not on
Mhm.
the other side of being healed, but in a way where, like, I can't get up to go brush my teeth, or I can't do any of these things because I'm just stuck in this thing.
Yeah.
And I would look on YouTube, I would all of these things, couldn't find anything. And so that was really what pushed me and motivated me to focus the podcast, or to focus on mental health, was because I wanted to be the voice I didn't have, going through it. Because we always find people that they're already on the other side of it, and they're telling you the ways to do things, and you need to do this, you need to buy this, you need to
Yeah.
read this. And the way I see it is it's not the same for everybody. And so I like to share my story to let people know that this some of these things work for me, might not work for you, but giving you options and different ways of trying to heal. So,
So speaking of
um
that, with building the podcast, right? It's very intentional. It's very, inspired by your own journey. So that requires a certain level of vulnerability. So how do you decide what parts of your own journey that you share, or you feel like you're just a complete open book in the process?
Open book. I try to be as honest, and it's scary. And I never really thought of it before, before I started doing it. And if when I look back at episodes now, I'm like, "Oh my god," like I could see the fear in myself.
I like when you
And
have revelations, like, mid-episode. There was an episode
yeah.
recently where you were talking, you were having, like, kinda this stream of conscious moment, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Wow, I never really thought of that." So I love those moments because that's what's important about the conversation, about
Yeah.
talking to, whether it's your friends or your family, talking to God, talking to a therapist. When you let it out, sometimes
Yeah.
you have a revelation in the process.
Just real time, and some of the time, in going through therapy a few times, when I started the podcast, my therapist was like, "There's a modality of, therapy where they have you record yourself talking to yourself so that you can go back and reflect."
Mhm,
Basically, I was doing that, but with like, putting it out onto the
mhm.
to the, streaming world or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of times because I do solo episodes for the most part, especially in the beginning, it was hard to, how do I just approach these people to say if they want to come on the podcast? Because, me and you speak a little bit about it. My networking circle is a little bit small because I am just so enclosed. Like I'm still learning to do that.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot of solo episodes in the beginning where I just want to let everybody know my first person journey through it. So I don't hold things back. I share pretty much everything. Um, there's a lot of revelations on the show too, because sometimes we're so in our head. Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm so in my head all the time that
Mhm.
these things are just kind of circling. And when I'm speaking on it, it's like, oh, duh. And I know which moment you're talking about. It was just the one where I keep telling everybody I want to be myself. I wanna feel like myself again. I wanna be able to do these things again, and I'm not the same person that I was. And in that episode where I was like, "Oh, duh," like, I'm having to relearn a lot of these things. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's just important to speak like that.
I've been going through that, or I was going through that recently of, like, I wanna get back to, this version of myself that had energy, that was, like, productive,
Yes.
that was, this and that. And then, like you said, I had this revelation of I'm not that person anymore. Like, I'm at a different stage of my life.
Yeah.
So, I can't go back to be that person. I can be inspired by that person, in certain attributes that I had at that time of my life, but I have to accept that I don't have the same energy level
Mm,
that I
yeah.
had 10 or 15 years ago. I don't my health is different now, so I have to modify how I approach projects and things like that.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's definitely great having because you and I, we're always DMing and having conversations and stuff like that. And then you have your Tuesday homie check-in, which
Yes.
I met Amber on. I just did an interview with Amber on the podcast as well,
Oh,
and
great.
and like that conversation, we were saying just how that conversation just kind of like opened up things, um, and gave us when you get other people's perspective on your situation, especially in a safe space
Yes.
where people are not gonna judge you, where people are not gonna be like, "You need to do this and that." It was just kind of like, "Well, have you thought about it in this way, or have you approached it with this mindset?"
Yeah.
So, um so speaking of that, and you creating community and the homie check-in, that space for people to just kind of come and um, have a not necessarily a place to vent, but a place to decompress, right?
Yeah.
So what role does community play in how your listeners kinda shape the direction of the podcast?
That's a hard question. Because I feel like while I'm trying to build the community, I'm trying to build it from a place where I a first person place where I found gaps. And I think that building the community is so important, but we're so tailored and trained to think of healing in a certain way, like you have to do certain things, that it's been a little bit difficult to build that community just because of, um, how I'm approaching it, right? And, if you aren't getting like, if you're not getting viral moments or you're not, like,
Mhm,
screaming at the top of your lungs and telling people, like, "This is how you can get better," things like that, I feel the stuff like what I do gets drowned out a little bit. So it's been a
mhm,
little bit difficult, but I'm in it for the long game. I'm not in it for the short haul. Like,
yeah,
I truly, genuinely wanna just build a community where we have a way to show people where we give resources. So, like, whatever you're going through, what I'm working on is trying to get resources for that. If I don't know somebody that can if I don't know directly, I am very good about finding information and using I say my network is small, but it's not necessarily small. Me going out to network is is the scary part. So I try to find the resources for people, and I like to connect people. Um, me and you are very similar in the ways that we kind of our brain works. It's
mhm.
crazy. And so when I speak to
We're only
somebody, I'm already
we're 2 days apart.
right? And so, like, I'm already thinking, like, "How can I help this person? What is it that you need from me? Oh, this person will be great to be with this person." So, building the community is really just important to me in a genuine way. Like,
Mhm,
like the homie check-in. I've only had that one with you and Amber where anybody's joined, but that's okay. I'll still be there on Tuesdays, and when people are
mhm.
ready, I'm actually gonna try changing the day to Wednesday. I did get some feedback because some parents say that their kids are, like, in extracurriculars on Tuesdays
Yeah,
and Thursdays. So I'm gonna try changing it to a Wednesday a couple of days, but I will still be there because if you wanna vent, if you wanna ask questions, because sometimes people don't like, I say share the post. You never know if somebody's gonna hear it and need help. And
mhm,
people might think in their circle, "No, everybody's good." You don't know what people are going through,
mm-mm,
and somebody might be able to get something out of it, and that's my hope, right? Is just to be able to build a community that is there for when somebody needs it, they can come to, and I'm here for them.
Yeah.
not necessarily for giving advice or things like that, but giving you resources and sharing my story. And
Mhm.
I'm so very lucky that people like you have come on and shared their story because it does reach other people. Again, everything is different for everybody, and just being able to hold a space and create that space is what's very important to me.
And creating a space like that, and not just like the homie check-in, but just a space around mental health and some of the discussions that you have on the podcast, can be very heavy topics, right? Um, so how do you in that process, because you and I were just talking about like sensory overload, right? How do you kind of protect your peace in the midst of that? Do you ever feel overwhelmed by some of the discussions?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was really difficult for me. That first year when I would have somebody coming on and they would be talking about some of the things that they were going through, it was really difficult for me. I mean, I could go back to look at those episodes and you can see me like, even still on episodes, you see me, like, I'll start panicking during the episode or, like, just feeling it, and it's
Mhm.
because my brain just goes back to some of the things because some experiences are different, but it still will take you back. Therapy has helped me, and unpacking a lot of my own shit. Sorry, I don't know how I didn't mean to
No,
cuss
no,
so
you're
much.
fine.
Um, I've learned that I have to unpack my own stuff, and, when people are talking about these things, sometimes it is difficult for me to show an emotion or to show something, and it's not in a way that is malicious or anything, it's just that I'm like, "Man, like, you just feel so bad,"
Mm,
and, so yeah, I do feel overwhelmed, not so much anymore. Again, therapy has really helped me to learn to unpack my own stuff and not take on people's things
mm,
because that's what I was doing in the beginning. Um, as an empath, as somebody who, again, you've been there, done that, you can feel what these people are going through, and it's been, some of them are really difficult, but yeah, it's just a matter of staying in your lane and doing the work yourself, right? So that way, like I said, I think it's just the taking on other people's stuff that makes it, hard, but yeah, mostly
yeah,
therapy after.
I saw a reel today that was talking about capacity, right? So, a person can care only to the extent of their capacity, right? And your capacity grows as your nervous system, your nervous
Mhm.
system regulates. So basically the reel was talking about not faulting people and thinking that they don't care about you, they just don't have the capacity to care at the level that you might care for them.
Yeah,
So that woke something up for me, after a
yeah,
recent experience. Um, so definitely I can sense that, as you heal in your journey, your capacity for those topics will grow to the point where it won't be as overwhelming for yourself. Um,
yeah. And I
yeah.
think too, just, like, having those resources instead of, like, me taking it on myself, like, "Oh, I need to get this, I need to get that to help
Mm,
this person."
yeah.
Or maybe sometimes you feel like you care more about that person's well-being than they do, and you're giving them the resources, and you're there for them, and you're showing up, and you're doing these things, and they're doing the same shit, and they're just you get sick yourself sick because you're worried about them, and so
Yeah.
I feel like it's not ne I feel like you're right that the way that you stated it was perfect, the capacity for it, because it's not a disconnect because I still
Mhm.
care. I care. I know that the only person that is gonna be able to help you is you,
Yep.
and I can't do it for you, I can't show up for you, and so, yeah, I think that's a great way that you stated it, was just having that
The
capacity.
capacity, yeah. So, with the podcast, so now it's been a little over a year that you've been doing the podcast. Has there ever been a season in doing the podcast that it demanded more than you anticipated?
Yeah, this new season, kind of the end of last year and the beginning of this year has been pretty rough. January was really hard on me. It's the more that I'm healing, the my nervous system is, more regulated now,
Mm,
but I'm still highly sensitive to so many things. And so I kind of got in this comfort zone where it was like filming once a week, doing these things on a schedule, doing this stuff. And
mhm,
then the routine kind of got shooken up,
mhm,
and I was kind of fumbling like, "Oh, I don't," and it was really hard to get back on track. And so I would say probably the last 10 episodes have been like the hardest. There was a brief second here the beginning of February where I'm like, "Do I wanna be doing this?" Like, you're like, "What is going on?" And, again, January was just rough. I think it was rough for everybody because it felt like a full year in January, and I was so
mhm.
stoked for January. My
'Cause our
birthday's in
birthdays are in January.
my
We turned
right, and I was
45, it was good time.
45, hell yeah, I made it to 45, I'm healing, I'm feeling stronger, I'm feeling better, and January was like, "Nope." And just
Mhm,
kinda, like, kick to the nuts, kick to the face, just, like, one thing after another, and it
yep,
was like, dude, like, so, yeah, I mean, all of the healing, everything I'm going through is in real time, so it's like, some days you'll see in episodes where I just feel, like, "Oh my god," you know? I think what's really getting me mostly right now is that I'm seeing so many, well, 1, the state of the country is just, like, all over the place, and that's just the thing. The second thing is so many, people who are dealing with mental health struggles losing their lives, and
mm,
it's just a thing where it's like, God, like, I've had a couple friends in 2 weeks pass. I found out one today passed away, and it's
mm,
like, there's help. We
yeah,
can really heal. We can get better, but we can't keep doing the same shit and expecting different results. Like, you have to
exactly.
do the work. You have to change the environment that you're in. And, you know, I just thinking about the podcast, like, am I reaching people? Is this what I should be doing? Should I be doing more? Should I be focusing on my own journey more? So yeah, it's kind of been all over the place. And, you know, people have been reaching out to me like,
Mhm,
"Hey, I wanna do your podcast. I have something I wanna get off my chest. You're a safe space." And it's people that I don't know that other people are talking about, and sending them over to me. And so, again, just like with you, like, that is, like, the universe telling me, like, "Yo, you're where you need to be, and
yeah,
just kind of be patient." Because, it gets frustrating when you wanna help people and they don't wanna help themselves.
yeah.
So,
mean, I
yeah,
think
I
what you're
think
doing is important because you're providing the resources. The resources are there because it's the whole, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right?
that
But
that
if
right
you
there.
but it's like you've built this space and these resources so that when they have that come to Jesus moment, they have a place they can go to get it. They don't
Yep,
have to go through what you said you went through where you were digging and digging and digging and looking for information and couldn't find what you needed.
yep.
So, I'm a big I'm a big quote person and I'm a big movie buff. So if you build it, they will come, right?
Same,
So
girl.
that's what I've kind of my focus has been on because I have, I was kind of having a moment recently. It was like, oh, I'm not getting the subscribers and the listeners and the
Same.
and the views that I want, but that comes over time, and I'm reading a book right now, it's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she's the woman who wrote, Eat, Pray, Love. So, there was a section in the book where she talked about, like, your reason for doing something. Are you doing it because you want the attention? Are you doing it because it's your purpose, like, you
Yep.
are passionate about it? Because if you do it because you're passionate about it, the attention will come eventually if you're consistent with it. So,
Yeah.
but if you're only seeking the attention you're only doing it to seek the attention, then it's gonna make you crazy. So, it's gonna
Yeah.
yeah. So
And I feel like in this instance, it's both things because all I want is 1,000 followers on Instagram so I can go live. Because sometimes I have these
Me
moments
too.
where I'm and I didn't ever know because I on the business page, I was able to go live all the time.
It didn't used to be like
And
that. They changed it.
once I switched, to the podcast, having its page, I thought in the beginning I was able to go live, and then I saw something and I was trying to go live because sometimes I get some things that pop in my head or shit's going
Mhm.
down in the world and I'm like, "Look, I just
You wanna
kinda
talk
wanna
about it.
put something out there," and it's like, I couldn't go live and I'm like, so right now my goals are very minimal. Like, I'm just trying to get to 1,000 so I could go live. Um, Again, like I said, I'm in it for the long haul. Even though I have these moments of like, what the hell am I doing? I'm sure everybody can relate. Any
Mhm.
entrepreneur, any business owner, anybody is like, I'm done with it. People who are in toxic relationships, I'm done with it. I'm done with this. And then you kind of go back to it. And so I really am in it for the long haul, regardless of what capacity I'm doing it at, whether it's the podcast or just kind of being a hub for resources. But yeah, it's just kind of like Instagram. We're trying to do good here.
I know, right?
At least 500.
I'm like, I
Make it
remember back in
500.
the day being able to just go live, like, randomly, and now
Yeah.
I'm, like, teetering, I'm right under 1,000. I'm, like, just, like, begging people, like, "Please share
I
my page." So I 'cause
I've
I
been
just wanna be
stuck
able to go
at
live for, like, my, like, behind the scenes or shoots and stuff
thank
like
you
that.
that
Yeah.
I was at 500, right? For I think I did a giveaway cuz I barely hit 500. So I've had the channel for a year or Instagram for a year, everything for a year. I don't
Mhm,
have subscribe I think I have 23 subscribers on YouTube, but I don't have my episodes on there just yet.
mhm.
And so for me, Instagram is like the main page to kind of get to me. And so I was at 500. I was like, "Yes, 500." Did a giveaway and then I gained like 2 people. So now I'm stuck at like 550. And I'm like, "Bro, I just want to go live."
Yeah.
And so I like you said, I know that the people who are getting the information are supposed to be there. I shouldn't worry about a number. But Jesus, it's stressful like
Yeah, it's just that
ha-
you have a purpose, a reason that you want to go live. It's not just, "I want
yeah.
1,000 just to have 1,000." It's like, "I want a
Yeah,
1,000
I don't
so I
want to
can go
just go on
live,
there and
so I
rant.
can share my more resources on the fly." But we'll get you there. We'll get you there. We'll
Yeah.
both get there.
Thank you. We
Um,
will get there.
and then
Well,
we can
sure.
and then we can do some joint live, conversation.
I'm down. Well, yeah, and like we do live podcasts. So,
Mhm,
we were doing it like once or twice a month where we would go live. And so I can go live through the service that I use,
mhm.
but I have to get onto that service and then connect to all of the things and then go live. It's not
Yeah,
like I can just pull up my phone and be like, "Hey, I'm here
yeah,
voting. Come out and vote," or whatever it is.
yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get there. I know it. We'll get there.
So was there ever a moment, because you said you had a restaurant, you've been doing the podcast, you're a mother. Is there ever a moment where you realized you needed to kinda slow down and pivot?
I would say I'm always pivoting, always.
Mhm,
I think probably the biggest, pivot was when I had the restaurant. We didn't stay open a year. We didn't make it a year. We made it maybe, like, 3 months. It was just really difficult. When I was building that restaurant, it was like I said, I was in a depressive episode. I was in bed, so it was just, like, this goal that I had.
mhm,
And, once I attained it, was like, you know, a lot of things were not going right with the landlord. Y'all, if you're entrepreneurs, if you're opening a place, read your leases, make sure that you have everything in your lease that you need.
mm,
No loopholes, make sure they're solid. But yeah, there was just some stuff going on with the landlord. It was just kind of one thing after another. And I decided just to close. Like, why go deeper into debt? Why go deeper into my mental health not getting better? So we
mhm,
decided just to close. And that was a huge pivot because it was like, well, now what? And then that was kind of when I started focusing more on doing the podcast. So that was a big a big pivot, but I think for the most part, my entire adult life is a pivot. Living in survival mode for so long, that's kind of all I know how to do. So whether it's me avoiding something or whether it's me having a goal and changing the goal line, whatever it is, I'm just always on the pivot, always moving. Yeah, that's I'm like in Donkey Kong when he's throwing the things down and you're like Mario trying to get up and then the barrel comes and you're like jumping and then basically that is my life, yeah. But I think a pivot is good. I think
Mhm.
embracing the pivots, not being afraid of it, and, because what that shows is that you're trying and you're learning. The funniest thing, when I closed the restaurant, people would message me like, "You're not a failure, you didn't fail." And I'm like, "What the fuck? I didn't think I failed, like, I closed it."
Who said
Like
that?
like, it was my idea. Wait, what? Like, no, I did it because it was a smart, thing in my opinion to do. We were losing money. I just so it's very funny, but, yeah, so I think embracing the period I think the only way that you're gonna grow and move forward is by stepping back and finding another way, whether it's for the same goal or it's changing the
Mm.
goal.
So, in the midst of, having to have all these different life changes and, like, we've talked about being in survival mode, how do you give yourself permission to rest when your brand essentially is about showing up for others?
I feel like I'm very good about prioritizing my rest right now.
Mhm,
Um, I feel like if I'm not okay, then I'm not gonna be able to show up. Also, too, I do a lot of things virtual. So, like, physically showing up has been very difficult for me.
mhm,
I get invited to events and things like that, and just physically, it's difficult for me still. So but I am there, any way that I can be. I can show support from the back, kind of on the back end, but I am there. If people need me, I show up for them, but I do prioritize my rest because if I'm not okay, I'm gonna be half there for you, and
mhm,
that's not fair to anybody. Um, and also being very open about that, like, "Hey, I'm kind of struggling right now, so, like," I feel like we're scared to have those conversations and to just be
mhm,
straight up with people. We don't want them to think that we are, I don't know, flaky or whatever it is, and it's not that we're flaky. It's like,
mhm.
"Hey, look, this is how I can show," and it goes back to that capacity that you're talking about. "This
Yeah.
is how I can show up." We have, the Nation of Wrestling. They've been putting on, local wrestling shows. It's an amazing school, they're an amazing program here locally, and,
Mhm,
I love wrestling. I It's one of my favorite things, are my whole family's things. I can't show up to the events, but I've been able to sponsor a wrestler or
mhm,
I promote for them. So I just think that pivoting, finding a way to show up for people if you can't is very important. And for people to acknowledge that and say, "You know what? I understand. I
yeah.
get it. It's okay." Um, or like when you get invitations to family gatherings and you're like, "I can't go." Like,
Mhm,
I get so anxious. Just thinking about it makes me kind of anxious now. It's like, but I'm doing better. I'm showing up
mhm,
physically. I showed up to a Super Bowl party. I was like sensory overload. And I always want people to know that the lack of me not being there isn't a lack of how I hold you in my heart or whatever it is. It's a me thing. It's really
mhm,
not a you thing. And so just trying and showing up the best that I can. They have a
mhm.
wrestling event on Saturday. Do I feel like I'm 1,000%? No, but I want to go and show up. And if I have to leave or wait in the
Yeah.
car the whole time, but I'm trying. That's kind of where I'm at right now is like exposure therapy. I'm exposing myself to some of these things, because I wanna be able to be more present physically for people.
Mhm,
I think that that's important, but I'm grateful for those who are patient with me and, who understand it, and I am here. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have
Kinda
to
it's almost like
physically be
micro
there.
you gotta microdose your socialization.
So, for
Like,
sure.
little bit, because even, like, when I first moved to El Paso, I was so burnt out, from just, my life and
Yeah,
having gone through divorce and everything, um, and then obviously moving across the country. So I kind of I pretty much stayed in house for like the first year. I would go
yeah.
out occasionally with my cousins. But then last year, I went out to, and I think it's happening, it's coming up now again, is the El Paso Strong Fashion Show. And I think that was kind of the first thing I
Oh,
went
yeah.
to like on my own. And it was like a really good vibe, good environment stuff. So then I started going out to more things and I started going to like paint and sips and I would just go and do these things on my own. And now it's like I'm excited to go out, right? Because before I was
Yeah.
anxious because I was like, I'm very awkward about talking to strangers unless I have a camera in my hand.
Uh,
Like, I am like a social butterfly if I'm holding a camera, but if I'm just out on my own, I'm just like, I'm just gonna go sit in the corner and hopefully somebody will talk to me. So it's very hard going to, like, networking events and stuff now, but
yeah.
now since I'm meeting people, I go out to these events now, and, there's gonna be at least one person that I probably have met somewhere else, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I can talk to this person," then they're gonna introduce me to somebody else, and then so it's just like, it's baby steps.
It's
You kinda gotta microdose, being
it's
social.
baby steps. Yeah, well, and, like, for me, being social was, like, to go anywhere, I would take shots here at my house.
Mm,
I'd get somewhere if it was at most things are always at bars. I would get to the bar, I would go take another shot, chug a beer, and then that would barely get me to where, like, I wasn't, like, super shaking out
mhm,
of nerves, where I could at least, like, sit there in the loud and, like, start kinda socialize. So, learning how to do a lot of these things sober
mm.
and where I'm still kind of learning how to regulate my nervous system, it's difficult, and, yeah, the whole microdosing, the social and I'm awkward as it is, I mean,
Yeah, you just
yeah,
you
I
go
just
stay for, like, 15, 20 minutes and then leave.
yeah, yeah, and, like, some of the other dudes, the Death in a Hoodie podcast last year, they had a studio opening, and that was kind of the first big thing that I had gone to.
Mhm.
They invited me, and I was like and I just feel like Mike was with me, my producer, and I said, "If you just see me kind of disappear, like, just please say bye on my behalf."
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm the
like,
queen of the
I just
Irish goodbye.
yeah, I was just and we have a wonderful podcast community here. They were all so supportive. I I was very grateful to them because they all kind of, like, rallied around and were like, "No, you're good," like,
Mhm.
made me feel comfortable. I was still super anxious, but, yeah, it's just kind of microdosing that, like you said, the social thing. I mean, even guys, you hear me say even around family, I'm like,
Well,
and
family can
it's just
often be a very huge source of stress for a lot of us.
I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. My family isn't. It's just
Mhm.
a matter of, like, the amount of people, and it's more so me being afraid of my reaction, Am I gonna
Mm,
flip the fuck out? Am I gonna get annoyed? Am I gonna run
mhm.
out? Whatever it is.
Yeah, you're,
Yeah.
concerned something might trigger you. So,
Yeah.
I've been hearing they talk about, have you heard this phrase glimmer? So, it's like the
Yes.
opposite
Yeah.
of a trigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
maybe in those moments you search for a glimmer. Like,
Yeah.
"Okay, what is something that's
Uh,
happening around me right now that, like, is making me happy?"
Glimmers are very new to me.
Mhm.
Glimmer again, with if you or somebody has been in a deregulated nervous system state, and mine has been I was living in survival mode since I was 6 years old. I'm
Mhm.
45.
Yeah.
I'm barely getting it together in the past year or 2 of, like, therapy and, like, nutrition and all of these things. So, um, when you're in that state, it's really difficult to kind of, like, uh, focus and, God, I lost my train of thought. Like, it's just really difficult to get back to the normal stuff. So the glimmers,
Mhm.
is something literally within the past couple months that my, therapist and I have been talking about was, like, you know, focusing on the positive basically,
Yeah.
it's what it is. We're so wired in our brain to go automatically to the negative that when you see something good, it's foreign.
Mm.
But learning to kind of accept those things, and, for me, they've come a little bit more, and, they're the funniest things.
Yeah.
Right now, just before we were filming, um, my daughter she put on the Muppet movie,
Mhm.
and I was working, kind of doing my stuff, and, like, listening to my husband and my daughter laugh at this movie that they used to watch when she was a little baby was
Mhm.
like, oh, like, it made me kind of like, "Okay, cool," like, that was a glimmer moment. So, yeah, they're hard to find. They're not hard to find, they're hard
Yeah.
to acknowledge. They're there.
Yeah. I've and, I've been learning how to reframe, right? In the moments, especially in moments that
Mhm.
normally would have made me crash out. So, like, for example, recently my car broke down, and normally that would have like, I would have pulled over and, like, cried on the side of the road and called my dad, like, I don't know what to do, right? But I was like, "Nope, okay, what's going on?" I'm like, "Okay, the car is still moving, but it's not moving very quickly. So let me put my hazards on and just move over to the side, get all," and, fortunately, I wasn't that far from a Loop Express. So I was like, "Let me pull
Oh,
in
good.
here and so they can look at it and tell me what's going on." And they were like, "Oh, you're leaking antifreeze." So they were like, "F we'll top you off so you can get to a mechanic." It was a Sunday, mechanic wasn't open, so at least I was able to get home, right? So, in that moment, I was very proud of myself because I didn't cry, because I didn't have a
Yeah.
meltdown, because I didn't feel like, "Oh, I need to call my daddy," right? I was like, "Okay, what's the issue? What are my options?" That's really what I've been doing a lot lately when I, like, come up against an obstacle. It's like, for example, I was in Vegas when they closed the airspace over El Paso, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, "Oh my god," like, I have to work in the morning, like, I was there for a conference, but I was like, "Okay, Sharman, what are your options? Like, if you can't fly home, what are your options?" I'm like, "Okay, I can, my layover was in Phoenix, so I'm like, "Okay, I can get to Phoenix, and then I can drive from Phoenix," which is like 6 hours. But I was like, "Okay, if I can get to Albuquerque, that's a shorter drive." So that was my goal, was to get to Albuquerque, and then
Mm,
the airspace opened up and, everything was fine. But again, in that moment, I was so proud of myself because I didn't panic, I didn't have a meltdown, I didn't start crying, I didn't call my mom like, "I don't know, what am I supposed to do?" Like, so, it's about kind of reframing
yeah.
how you
You're
approach
letting
things.
your
Yes,
logical is taking over instead of the emotional and the
emotional.
reactive. And that, Charvon, is healing, and that's getting to that place. So that's fantastic, and it's crazy that it seems so easy, like, that's the logical brain, you know what I mean? It
Mhm.
seems and it's like when I was starting to get and that's one thing my therapist says all the time is, "Let your logical brain kind of take over," because
Mhm.
the backside, the what is it? The reptile side is the side that's just kinda, like, all over the place. So,
Yeah.
good. Props to you, because
Yes.
that's huge. It's
It's very
huge.
huge because I have
It
been,
is.
I was a very melodramatic teenager. I mean, obviously, I know now as an adult, having been diagnosed with ADHD, that was a lot of, like, my drama and stuff as a child, and my meltdowns and everything were, related to autism and ADHD. So, and the more I learn about that, the more it helps me kind of control my emotions in those moments, and kind of control my, dysregulation and my executive
Mhm.
dysfunction, where it's like, "Okay, stop. Let's talk it through. What are
Mhm.
my options?" Basically, I've basically just started to treat myself the way I perform at work. Because
Yep.
when we're in the midst of chaos at work and there's like, it's like all hands on deck, I go into action. I like snap
Yes.
into action. I'm like, "Okay, here, this, and it." I'm like, "Why can I do this at work, but I can't do this with my life?" So now I just start treating my life like a project.
Yep.
It's so, yeah. So like you said, healing is not linear.
It's
And
not,
there's
it's
ebbs
not,
and
and it's
flows.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I feel you on that too, like, when I have to show up for somebody else, it's a lot easier. Like, if my daughter
Mhm.
needs help with her coffee business and everything, doesn't matter where my head is, like, I can focus for however long she needs me to focus. After that, though, I'm in bed for, like, a day and a half, like, just trying to recuperate, like, "God, what was I doing?" You know? So, yeah, it's crazy. I like what you said there about, switching the perspective, and when
Mhm.
things are chaotic, you kind of go into that mode, and, yeah, I need to learn how to do that with my life because sometimes I'm just like, "Ugh, just not gonna do it today."
Well, no, there's definitely sometimes where I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm not dealing with that right now."
Yeah.
But, it's just like we just said, it's baby steps. It's one fire at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
One fire at a time. I like that.
So, Ashley, thank you for joining me today. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find the podcast.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for having me on and for, you know, taking the step to do your podcast and spreading the word that way. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I'm excited to see your growth. People can find me mostly on Instagram at Talking About It. So at Talking period about period it. And we do have a Facebook. It's connected to the Instagram, so
Mhm.
that's pretty much how it is. Um, uh, you can find the podcast. There is a pod link that I have, but basically anywhere you get your podcast or you listen to, you can find us. We're on Spotify, iHeart, Apple. We're all over the place. Some other ones that I didn't even know were podcast things, we are on there, but the best way is the pod link in the bio of the Instagram. I'm currently working to get a website. We're working on it now where it will be a hub of resources. So wherever you are in the US, you'll be able to go to the website. Say you're a veteran looking for help, we'll have resources there for you where you can kind of just get to the right people. Um, but yeah, that's kind of it. Tuesdays, again, if you can check the Instagram because I'm trying to see for the homie check-in. Homie check-in is just a place where you can come in. I call it like the old chat rooms that we used to be in that were like on MySpace
Mhm.
and those things. I'm 45, guys. So that was cool back then. And so that's kind of what the homie check-in is. So we'll it's on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time right now. I may be adding a day, but yeah, that's where we're at.
Nice. Thank you so much, Ashley, and we look forward to talking about it.
Thank you.
Life doesn't always stay in perfect focus. There's magic in the blur we can't ignore. Every shadow, every highlight softly shows us who we are and who we're reaching for. When the world feels out of frame, every thought, every fear, every revelation, I find my way through the quiet